Through 5 games, the Cleveland Cavaliers legitimately look like one of the best teams in the NBA. And I know it's a long season. A lot of things could change. This is the type of situation where we could be sitting here in a few months going, remember when the Cavs started 5-0? What happened? But as of right now, with new head coach Kenny Atkinson, the Cleveland Cavaliers look phenomenal. And it's impressive to see this level of change from a squad that, in all honesty, has not actually changed all that much. The guys contributing to this Cavs team are the same guys, for the most part, who were contributing to this Cavs team last year. In fact, almost every single player on the Cavaliers who is playing any sort of significant minutes was a real contributor on this team last year as well. And therefore, the question immediately becomes, what's causing this impressive change to start the season? And number two, is it sustainable? Before we hop on it, if you haven't already, make sure you'll hit that subscribe button. I'm uploading NBA content pretty much every single day and would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe, trying to push towards 1,000 subscribers on the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the honest truth is the rise of the Cavaliers this season is, I think, in large part due to the way that they're playing now. And most importantly, honestly, the way that they're doing their rotations. I think the Cavaliers have put themselves in a situation now where they are staggering minutes beautifully, and while it actually is producing less minutes per game for their stars, what it is also doing is setting this team up for success in a way that I think that prevents the issues that have been plaguing this team for the last couple of years since they put together the big four of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. And the simple truth is, the way that they're doing that is those guys are barely seeing the court together as a foursome. While all four of them do start the game, I saw a stat, and this was through 4 games, not 5, so I'm not entirely sure how many minutes last night's game against the Lakers added, but through 4 games, those 4 guys had played a total of 38 minutes together on the court, period. That's less than 10 minutes a game. So you wouldn't think, in general, having your 4 best players only share the court for 38 minutes would be a very good strategy for success. And for most NBA teams, it wouldn't be. I think it works incredibly for this Cavaliers lineup, though, because Donovan Mitchell and Jarrett Allen pretty much never see the court when the other one isn't on the court. And same thing so far for Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. And what that has created is a system where 2 ball-dominant guards and 2 non-elite shooting bigs. Evan Mobley has shown the ability to stretch the floor and is starting to develop that more and more. But it basically allows those ball-dominant guards to be in control of the offense almost the entirety of their time on the court, and it provides the spacing that both of these bigs need to roll at a high level and be impact players on the interior, as well as impactful as they possibly can be defensively as well, because you don't require Evan Mobley to do quite as much floating and quite as much perimeter guarding. He can be, in a lot of ways, the center that they want him to be when he's on the court. And I think this honestly maximizes both of those guys' potential. Now, the question is this something that's sustainable for the playoffs? Maybe not. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland might have to share the court more with Donovan Mitchell and Jarrett Allen as the season progresses. But I've loved, to this point, the lineups of Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen, and then 3 of Dean Wade, George Niang, Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert, Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill. All of those guys coming off the bench are proving themselves to this point in the year to be contributors, playing pretty solid minutes. In fact, all of those guys are playing at least 16 minutes a game. I guess Ty Jerome's only playing 14 minutes a game. But besides Ty Jerome, they're all playing 16 minutes a game, and Ty Jerome's playing 14 minutes a game. So they're basically going, realistically, 10 deep, and all of their role players, Dean Wade and those 5 guys off the bench, are basically coming in shifts of 3. So 3 here, 3 there, with 2 stars at all times, which allows their offense to stay super cohesive and super effective and to play through their stars to their maximum potential. And number one, Donovan Mitchell is one of the more explosive and exciting players in the league. I think that much has been clear for a long time. He's an amazing player, super explosive off the dribble, one of the better pure scorers in the league at times. And when he is locked in defensively, can be a pretty impactful defender in his own right, especially, again, when he's in a situation where he can be the smallest guard on the court and doesn't have the responsibility that he's had at times over the past couple of years where he has to pick up Darius Garland's defensive slack. Instead, he can be maybe not the worst defender on the court, but the smallest defender on the court, and it enables him to focus a little bit more on the offensive end of the court and not have to quite expend as much energy defensively. And honestly, same thing is true for Darius Garland. But D. Mitch is obviously an exceptional player, despite as one of the best offensive guards in basketball, and is having himself a great start to the season and will likely continue to not emerge, but continue to produce at a super high level, averaging over 24 points a game to start off the season. And then honestly, in my personal opinion, their second best player to this point in the year has been Jared Allen. He is just so impactful as a shot blocker, rebounder, interior force. I mean, in my opinion, significantly outplayed Anthony Davis tonight, which is not an easy feat. And yes, AD was injured and was a little bit gimpy, but Jared Allen was dominant. AD did not look to attack him at all. And while AD did finish with a decent stat line, 9 of 17, 22 points, 13 rebounds, had an impact on the game, most of that impact came when he wasn't being guarded by Jared Allen. He was, in my opinion, despite the stats not exactly saying it, was strongly outplayed, especially in the first half, by Jared Allen. And I think it enabled the Cavs to build a big lead when AD and Braun were still on the court because of how effectively Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell were able to play tonight. And then, I mean, Evan Mobley, in of his own right, is very similar in that he's averaging about 18 points a game this season, 2.5 blocks, 9 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Like, he is very, very much emerging into that player that he was drafted number 3 overall to be. I think he was number 3, right? He might have been number 2. But either way, he's emerging into the player he was drafted to be. And I think, again, this situation where he plays most of his minutes at the 5 and can be a bit more of a rim runner and not have to float on the perimeter as much offensively allows him to be more impactful on the offensive end of the court. Not to mention, he is shooting about 2 threes a game and shooting 50% on 3s so far. Now, that's not sustainable. The shooting of some of the guys in this team, I mean, Evan Mobley, 50% from 3. Darius Garland before tonight, 50% from 3. Karis LeVert, good freaking Lord, he is shooting the absolute cover off of the ball so far this season. I think he might have the highest effective field goal percentage of any player in basketball with 6 of 8, 4 of 6 from 3, and 16 points tonight, shooting over 65% from the field and over 60% from 3 to this point in the year. That type of production is not sustainable. These guys are not going to shoot this well all season. But I do think that they have set their offense up in a way to be the most successful that it has ever been, and also to allow their stars to rest, to not put too much responsibility on any one specific player in this lineup and allow everybody to thrive in their own role. And if this is a team where they can stay unselfish, play for each other, and not worry so much about their own individual statistics, but play their role on this team, and that goes for everybody on this, from the stars to the major role players, of which they have 6 of them. If they can continue to do that, this is a team where you basically at all times have an elite point guard and an elite big man on the court, and then 3 guys who are all very capable shooters surrounding them. Now, the only guy who I would say doesn't fit that mold is Isaac Okoro, but he's a great defender in his own right, so I think Okoro can be a big impact player. And honestly, I like their depth because they don't have just one guy. Dean Wade is a good player, very good shooter, solid defender. I think a little bit underrated defensively, maybe because he's white. That might contribute. George Niang, he's slow, but he's not a bad defender in his own right. He's a really good shooter, has been his entire career, and is another guy who's going to be a consistent contributor on this squad, if nothing else, shooting the 3 ball at a pretty high level. Sam Merrill shot over 90% of his shots from 3 last season, and he's going to do the same thing this season. Shoot the crap out of the ball, and may not be the strongest defender or the best overall playmaker, but he is an elite level floor spacer who in his 15 to 20 minutes a game is going to be a contributor in his own right. Karis LeVert, we already talked about how exceptional he has been to start the year, and he is one of those guys who can be a microwave scorer and a bucket getter in situations where they need him to be, and can be a real contributor offensively as well. And honestly, I will say the emergence of Ty Jerome into a legitimate rotation player has been kind of nice to see, because he's a guy who's bounced around the league for a few years, and it's cool to see him finally getting an opportunity to be a pretty much every night part of a rotation on a good squad and not squander. Tonight he was 5 of 7, 2 of 3 from 3, 2 free throws, 14 points and 4 rebounds, or 4 assists, 2 rebounds. Really solid performance by him, and overall he's averaging in about 15 minutes a game about 11, 12 points per game so far this season. So really making use of his opportunity to this point, and I hope that is able to continue for his sake, because I've been very pleased with what I've seen out of Ty Jerome as well. I really like the makeup of this Cavs roster. I feel like they have the ability to have a very strong lineup on the court at all times, and depth with their 4 stars that they have finally figured out how to utilize at its max potential. And that puts them in a situation where, with the struggles of other teams in the East, the Bucks just don't look very good nor very well coached. The Sixers have significant injury issues, and that could sustain itself throughout the season. The Knicks have question marks in their own right. I don't think that the Cavs are at all out of the running for a top 4 seed, just like when I talked about the Magic a couple nights ago. It's a similar situation to the Magic where the team is continuing to improve, the team is continuing to find their identity, and I think this is a squad that has the potential to be a true contender in the Eastern Conference. Now, I don't think they're winning a title or anything like that, but this could be a team that significantly outperforms expectations this season and is a real threat in the playoffs if they continue to play at this level. Been very, very pleased so far with what I've seen out of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and a 5-0 start, one of only 2 undefeated teams left in the NBA, them and the Oklahoma City Thunder after Boston lost in overtime to Indiana. Impressive start for the Cavs. They're the 1 seed in the East. Will that remain? I doubt it. Can they be a top 4 seed? I 100% believe so, and at this point, I think it's almost expected. Not expected. It's too early to say that. But I think if I was predicting the Eastern Conference playoffs today, I would have them as a top 3 seed. That's how good they've been. I've been very, very impressed by the Cavs, and I'm excited to keep watching them this season because they're fun, they're playing good defense, they're playing hard, and their offense is awesome. And I really like this roster a lot. Hope y'all did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.